But nobody in this media class, none of these politicians, none of them believe that Trump is racist. All of them know this is a talking point and a tactic to try to discredit him because they are deathly afraid of their corruption being exposed.
Okay, so another policy, or not really a policy, but just a situation that you're seeing in the media constantly is this idea that Trump will not condemn white supremacy, and that, it's not even in the media that Biden won't. He just won't, and they just won't talk about it. So I was going to say versus Biden, but it is versus Biden not condemning Antifa. Right. And so let's kind of look at that, because I find this to be probably the most absurd situation of all. I mean, it really is. It is the absolute most absurd. I was watching a montage video of like Trump before he was the president. And like somebody put this montage together of like him with all these civil rights leaders, like him and Oprah, and what good friendship they had. And I mean, like, just him and Muhammad Ali, and just his whole life just surrounded by
Herschel Walker has been his friend for decades.
Yeah.
And babysat his kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's like in all these rappers from like 1980 to like 2008, like Trump is in, like, there's this montage of him in all these rap songs, and they all like idolize the guy. And it's like Trump, and maybe it's just his name rhymes really good. I don't know. But like, they're all idolizing this guy, and he's with all of them, and he's supporting them, and like talking about buying their records, and I'm going to do this. And he's like just been such a support to that community. And now all of a sudden, you have the media being able to swing this idea in the minds of even the black community that he's a racist. And I'm like, this is the most absurd. Like, for me, this is because Biden, you can make a strong case that he is actually a racist, like a very strong case. But you have to think for yourself. Like, you have to get outside of these 4 years, and you have to actually look at evidence rather than listening to a media class fill your head with bogus information and a bogus idea, and constantly say it in the same way that, I don't want to go here because people are going to go, but the same way that the Nazi regime filled people's head with information in Nazi Germany. I mean, just this propaganda of just over and over. And if he says it long enough, then it must be true, whether there's any evidence for it or not. So, I mean, to me, this is the most absurd of all the criticisms. But somehow, people still believe it. And it just shows how little we do our own thinking and how little we do our own research to what is true and what is not. And then you have on the other side, literally in a debate, Joe Biden says, Antifa is not real. It's simply an idea. And Trump is like, what? What? And all of us on the other end of the screen are like, what? Like, are you serious? Did he just say that? Was that covered in the media? No, sirree. Not one time.
Because the media themselves have barely covered the violence and the arson and
it's peaceful protesting.
Yeah,
Dustin.
I mean, they've tried to
that's just
continue to try to frame it
of
up
it.
that way.
10% of it.
I mean, yes, it's hard to understand naturally or on the surface. It's not hard to understand in the context of everything else that we're talking about when the overall greater effort is to try to get rid of Trump. This has absolutely nothing to do with anyone's real belief other than much of the deceived population. But nobody in this media class, none of these politicians, none of them believe that Trump is racist. All of them know this is a talking point and a tactic to try to discredit him because they are deathly afraid of their corruption being exposed. And the fact that, for some of them, like Biden, like Hillary, it's more projection. They themselves are
absolutely.
the racists.
Absolutely.
The Democrat Party has been the historical party that supported every form of racism over the last 150 years. So,
and if you look at what Trump said in 2016, what he said to the black community is exactly that. What do you have to lose? Like, what do you have to lose? Look at all these Democratic ran cities. Look at what the Democrats have done for you in the past, right? What do you have to lose? They have kept, I mean, yeah, I was actually, I pushed back against this, but you told me to hold up when Ice Cube recently started to come out. And I was really, because I don't like that man. Like, I am not a fan of Ice Cube. But you kept telling me, you're like, yeah, but he's on this journey, and you see him on this journey, and he's starting to think, and he's starting to understand some things, and you see it starting to come up. And just recently, he finally came out and said, don't shoot the messenger, but I'm on the Trump train.
Well, no, I mean, he didn't. I don't think he said that. But the thing is,
the underlying message was headed there without saying it for the most part.
I wouldn't even say that he's at that point, but in it, you see this interesting thing where even as he begins to just attempt to look at it more objectively, to attempt to abandon and reject, which is actually, not an uncommon thing, especially in the black community or kind of a classic liberal, reject the two parties as not really being operating in their interest. So he's just really doing that. He's just not embracing Biden. And his own camp, in a sense, or those who do embrace Biden, are coming at him hard, assuming or accusing him of, or because he's not embracing Biden, then you must be embracing Trump then.
Yeah.
And he's not having that.
Well,
he's not going to let them pigeonhole him. So he's fighting back against that. But at the same time, he's not.
It's kind of like a Kanye West kind of experiment here.
It is, even though he's not as openly embracing Trump.
I'll tell you what I've liked about Ice Cube.
It's just funny.
I'll tell you what I've liked about Ice Cube and all this, which has made me like him a little bit, is that he genuinely seems to care about his people.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like a bunch of these other celebrities, such as Jay-Z and P. Diddy and all them, and their embracing of Biden, like maybe they do, maybe they don't know of all these policies that have been put in play. But Ice Cube has actually looked into them, and Ice Cube says this, and I get it. I mean, if a white person said it, it would be completely racist. But he's like, we have to look out for our people. We have to, pull our money together to bring up our people. And he does say, and at the end of all that, once we rise up, because it's all about the money, once we rise up, we can invite other people in. But we have to start to pull our resources together to get out of this. And all I'm saying is, it seems like what Ice Cube is recognizing is that he has looked back at the information over the last 4 years that Trump has done nothing but good for the black community. The black community's unemployment has been at an all-time low, right? I mean, he has been fighting for the black community. And I genuinely believe that Trump's going to win not a majority maybe, but he's going to win 30 to 40% of the black vote. I truly believe that this time around because they're waking up. They're starting to see these things. And because of people like Ice Cube that are stepping back, maybe I was a little presumptuous there on the Trump train.
Yeah, you're a little wishful thinking on that one.
But I still think he's going to vote for Trump in the ballot box. I still believe that's what he's going to do. He's not voting Joe Jorgensen. Right?
Well, he might not even vote, but what I find so interesting and humorous is that just because he's rejecting the party line and he's not being forced into a particular position, and then he's getting ostracized for it. He's getting
and he's holding strong, like he's not
he's
giving
a strong
in.
Personality, of course, and because of that, it's just highlighting the tactics of the left, which is really fascist, to try to use intimidation and all these things to force you, and that's what they're doing in this other the projection and not only characterizing Trump as racist, but anybody who supports him as racist. It's an effort to intimidate, to control. Yeah. And again, I've been influenced by it early on, because until you're used to it, and unless you're strong enough to resist it and not care, and to let somebody call you racist and know that makes them morally inferior, they are wrong. They are doing something evil and wicked by accusing you of being racist for something that they actually have no basis for, unrelated to your actual policy positions and
sure.
things
And
like
Ice
that.
Cube being successful, right? I mean, Ice Cube being successful. And another one is, I think it's Lil Wayne. I could be wrong about this one. I'm not really good at rap. I don't listen to rap. But Lil Wayne,
said some
who has
things,
constantly been trying to be pigeonholed into this racism talk, and he won't go there.
yeah.
He's like, I don't know about y'all, but when I look out my audience, like 80% of them white. He's like, I ain't felt no racism.
Well, and the people
I hadn't been.
and like he said, it was a white cop who helped saved his life.
Yeah.
when he got shot when he was younger. So he knows that. And all these people know this. I mean, they're true. Some people have experienced some serious racism along the way. There's realities there. But even most people, no, they interact with white people all the time.
But I think what they see happening is that although we are not systemically racist in this country, you are starting to see people start to divide. I mean, like good-hearted people going, hey man, listen, I am not a racist. I've never been a racist. But if you're going to start to put me in that box, I'm at least not going to stand up for you. I'm not going to go to racism, but I ain't standing on your sideline no more. I'm not fighting for you anymore. And I think Ice Cube and Lil Wayne and these people start to see this and they're like, man, white people have helped me my whole life, right? Like they have been on my side my whole life. And I'm starting to see there's a divide happening here. And this is not going to be good for us. Like it's just getting worse and worse. And we're starting to stoke a fire that was trying to be put out, that we were heading in a good direction, that it was being put out, and they are stoking it. These white liberals that want this to be an issue are stoking this fire, and they are using us to stoke it. They are trying to cause a racial divide. They are trying to cause an LGBTQ divide versus a gay-straight divide, a blue-red divide, you name it. Like a man-woman divide with feminism and the nuclear family. Like they are trying to create as much fire in the streets as they can. And then they throw Antifa in there to go into these cities and start riots and fill people's ears with ideas and get them to act crude and violate people's private property. And they're doing all this. And then they go, and if Trump wasn't in office, this wouldn't happen. And it's like, okay. And then they're like, yeah, we got to get Trump out. That's the problem.
I'm telling you, all of this is about trying to get Trump out.
Yeah.
Because they are so corrupt and they are about to go to jail.
Yeah.
And they are all of these things, the pandemic, the racism.
And if you'll just see it, if you just step back and look, you can see it. It's so obvious when you start to connect all these dots.
So obvious.
Been in office for as long as they have, the media class, the pandemic, the way they've treated the pandemic, trying to kill the economy. I mean, it is so obvious. Antifa, they're not even ignoring it anymore. They won't even come out and answer these questions anymore. They don't even have to answer questions about totally transforming the way our government works and packing a court and getting rid of the filibuster and these absurd emails.
And more than anything else, I mean, the corruption of some of these people that have been in government and in these powerful positions, along with their control and use of the media and the corruption of the media, those are the two big things. And so in this one issue, you can see how corrupt and deceptive the media is because they have been the ones, along with all the other mouthpieces, the politicians and celebrities and everybody pushing it, but the media puts it on repeat and the media selectively edits things. So, one of the big things that they've used over and over again is the fine people, quote, taken out of context around the Charlottesville
Fine
thing.
people on both sides. I hear that all the time. Everybody I try to talk to brings this up.
Debunked repeatedly, and only if you have never looked at it, only if you have never listened to Trump's comments in context, only if you have heard this repeatedly through the being lied about and misrepresented in the media, only that person can believe the fine people hoax, because otherwise it is enormous hoax. It's been debunked multiple times. There's other montage clips of Trump. They act like he just denounced white supremacy. There's literally like a 5 or 8 minute montage of all the times over the last 4 years that Trump.
That's why I'm saying this one's so absurd. Like it's like
And they ask
it's
him,
absurd.
And what they do is they edit it and they show the question and then they edit and show like a pause and it took him long enough. Oh, he delayed. If you ask me, if you pushed me and you asked me for the 100th time if I'm racist, I'm more liable to punch you in the face than I am to tell you I'm not racist because I'm sick of it and I don't need to answer.
It's
to
like
you.
in the